This is The Brief, where policy meets business. From City Hall to the state capitol to Washington, D.C., we break down the issues impacting jobs, growth, infrastructure, and opportunity right here in Corpus Christi. Welcome back to The Brief, where we break down the issues shaping our business community in the Coastal Bend. I'm your host, Ginny Cross, Vice President of Advocacy for the United Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce. And today we're joined by Kyle Hogan, retired Army Colonel and former commander of the Corpus Christi Army Depot. Kyle, you know, when we're not fighting about water, the second most talked about issue I hear about is our Army Depot. And I'm sure most of the audience is aware that the number of employees has been steadily on the decline, and that's mostly due to workload issues. And why has the CCAD workload dropped off so dramatically?
Good afternoon, Jenny. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And
I think it's a very complex question. It seems when you look at numbers, 2011, 2012, there's about 6,000 employees. And there's just above 2,000 employees now in 2026. So in about a 15-year time span, there's been a considerable degradation of employed personnel. A lot of it has to do with work that traditionally has been done at CCAD is now going to other third-party vendors or back to the original equipment manufacturer, the OEMs, because the number of contracts across the Department of Defense, Department of War has gone down. The demand after 20 years of war in Iraq and Afghanistan has gone down. The number of hours we're flying. So the amount of work in totality has been reduced. Everybody is fighting for their piece of the pie of what remains. And what we've discovered, what traditionally has been the organic industrial base, CCAD, gets half of the total workload. The OEMs and other third-party vendors get their half. Our half has been reduced to, we can say maybe it's a 70-30 split instead of a 50-50 split. I'm just using arbitrary numbers for the audience to understand. The overall number of contracts given the depot is going elsewhere. That's the biggest driving factor on why the number of personnel have been reduced, because they don't have the work, so they don't have the ability to carry those employees.
I see. I think that answer makes sense to a lot of people. I mean, if we're not at war, you have fewer things to repair. But can you maybe dive into a little bit of what is the organic industrial base and why does it matter?
So big picture, across the defense industrial base, it's really broken into two components. The commercial industrial base, you think of the big five, General Dynamics, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, those are the names that come to mind. And then that's the commercial side, the commercial industrial base. The organic industrial base are those government entities that supply parts, equipment, and capabilities to the Department of Defense, Department of War to be able to conduct our nation's business. Each service branch has their own depots, arsenals, and armories, if you will. The Army, in particular, has 23 of those different depots, arsenals, and armories to build bullets, guns, trucks, tanks, helicopters. Each of those sites has a portfolio of very specific items. Here in the Coastal Bend, we're lucky to have Corpus Christi Army Depot, which is the Army's rotor wing repair, so helicopter repair facility across all of the Army, but they also do work across the other service branches. The organic industrial base is the nation's security or insurance policy in time of war. What the other half, let's say Boeing, for example, Boeing's a global company with global shareholders. They are not beholden to the United States. So if, let's say, they have an order for aircraft that are going to, say, Germany, ally and partner, it's a good opportunity for Germany, it's a good opportunity for the United States, good opportunity for Boeing. However, if there becomes a conflict on where a part is coming from, Boeing gets to make that choice. However, if you're following the 50-50 model, where 50% of the work goes to the organic industrial base, that means there's adequate parts that are supplied to CCAD to do the repair on Chinooks here in the Coastal Bend. What's happened recently is some of that work has been skewed elsewhere. So the organic industrial base is designed to provide a capability and a surge capacity in the event of a large-scale combat operation.
That makes a lot of sense. You need to have your backup plan in case of an emergency.
So if you think of it as a portfolio, it allows the government to diversify its portfolio where it's going to get its supply from.
Okay. So does that sort of translate into this right to repair language that I know our congressman is attempting to get put into the National Defense Authorization Act?
Absolutely. Okay. So there's an aspect of right to repair on equipment that the government has purchased. Say the Army's purchased 2,000 Black Hawk helicopters. They should have the right to repair that itself and not have to pay a third-party contractor or the OEM to come back and do the repair work. It's not efficient if you're going to be forwardly deployed with a Black Hawk and expect Sikorsky, in this case Lockheed Martin Company, to come over to a foreign area to do the repairs. You need to be able to do those repairs on your own. That goes into the intellectual property discussion about what the individual items are on that aircraft, and having the Army having the rights to create those parts and those repair processes if they don't already own them.
That makes sense. So what is of this I'm hearing that, I know you know the answer to this, but I'm teeing it up for the audience, that helicopters are going away and that we're moving to drones. What's the truth there?
So I will give you Kyle Hogan's expert opinion. I'm not an expert, but I'll throw it out there. I believe the Army has pivoted in a direction by reducing total helicopters in its inventory with the reduction in the divestiture of the AH-64 Delta and the UH-60 Lima model. Those two aircraft roughly totaled about 1,000 helicopters within the Army inventory. We've seen both in Eastern Europe and in the Middle East, there is an emerging technology with drones that provide a capability to help commanders make decisions. My opinion, the Army may have stepped a little forward, or the term I've heard is they got ahead of their skis in the divestiture plan earlier than anticipated, because the technology in some of the drones is not at a place where they thought it would be by now.
Okay.
If we reflect back on, in February with the Maduro raid, that was all rotary helicopters. There were unmanned platforms that aided that. But at the end of the day, we are still in a place geopolitically, if we are going to seize and control terrain, you have to do that with boots on the ground, and we're still putting those boots there with manned aircraft.
So really the answer is both. Helicopters plus drones.
At some point, we're already seeing there's some augmentation with drones, there's some teaming, some pairing, but the techniques and procedures that started 2 decades ago have not come far enough along for a drone to replace manned aircraft in every situation. There are probably situations where it's appropriate, but right now in the troop transport, they're just not there yet. In the large fires event, that's still not there yet either.
Okay. So steering back to CCAD, we got a little off on a tangent, but that's okay because it was an interesting tangent. So what are we doing about the situation at CCAD? What can we do to bring more missions to, keep that in, organic industrial base strong here? And obviously we care a lot about those jobs. So you're part of the South Texas Military Task Force. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we can do and what you have been doing?
Sure thing. The first I'll speak to what the team at CCAD properly has done, and they're making sure that they're marketing themselves in as many places as possible to broaden what they're doing from a portfolio perspective on trying to create other public-private partnerships, direct partner support agreements, DSPAs. They are working and doing a lot of business development, some BD work on their own.
That's great.
To make sure they're holding as much as possible. And then on the chamber and the South Texas Military Task Force side, we've made quite a few trips over the last 18 months to D.C. to the Hill to talk to our elected representatives, to talk to other Army and service member officials, to ensure that they're getting the right message and an accurate message. Sometimes There are senior Army leaders who get PowerPoint slideshows and quad charts and bullet talking points that don't articulate the second and third order impacts of what we're really doing. When you reduce total inventory numbers to a place where it creates additional risk to our national policy, I think, and Secretary Hegseth was questioned about this recently with the Army Transformation Initiatives, and they're going back and looking and saying, maybe we got a little too aggressive. Maybe we need to pare this back a little bit and see where we're going. The task force has worked diligently with our elected officials at all levels to ensure that we're providing them the right questions. So when they ask senior Army leaders, other elected officials, appropriation committee members, here's the things that CCAD needs to make it solvent, to ensure its long-term stability and be competitive against the OEMs when we talk about current market rates.
Okay, that's awesome. I think that we have to end it here. Thank you, Kyle, very much for indulging me and joining me on this little podcast show. Thank you, all of you, for tuning into The Brief. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.
Thanks.
Awesome.